again, everybody, and welcome into the Shelby County High School Football Show alongside Andrew Simonson. I am Alec Etheridge, and we've got one of our best weeks of the season on tap for you this week. It's going to be a busy one. It's going to be a big one. And our game of the week right here in Columbiana at Shelby County High School as the Wildcats welcome Northside to town in what's a battle of unbeaten teams, both sitting at 4-0 right now, also undefeated in region play. And that's just the tip of the iceberg there for us this week as it carries down across all of our matchups this week. Only one team on a bye. That's going to be the Montevallo Bulldogs, who do fall to Demopolis this past Friday night. So they'll be on a bye this week before jumping back into action next week. But 12 other games taking place this week, including this one, our game of the week. Got a big one between Thompson and Vestavia, Oak Mountain, Tuscaloosa County, homecoming there for the Eagles, Spain Park, Ben Russell, and what could be for the region championship here come the end of the season as well. So big opportunities ahead this week. Andrew, what's the one big matchup? Obviously this one, our game of the week, but what else kind of sticks out to you as we head into this week, really the midway point of the season?
Yeah, lots of really crucial region battles coming up this week, and against teams that could really decide playoff positioning at the end of the season. The one matchup I've had circled on my calendar for a while since those first Class 2A rankings came out was that Vincent road trip to Sulligent. We're going to talk about it later in our segment once we get to the Yellow Jackets, but that's still going to be a top 10 matchup likely when the latest rankings come out on Wednesday. So I'm really interested to see how the Yellow Jackets do. We've heard talk all offseason long about how difficult of a region this is going to be. This is now where we get to see how Vincent stacks up against those teams.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that one too. Obviously, I think Spain Park, Benjamin Russell, like I said a minute ago, going to be for the region championship. Ultimately, I think the winner of that game decides who's going to be the region champion. You've got Chelsea and Calera in an interesting game now as well. The Hornets off to one of their best starts in a long time, and the Calera Eagles pick up their first win in a long time. So much, much more on that matchup and the big win for Calera this past week. Pelham, who lost that game to Calera, also a very good chance to pick up a win in a matchup with Chilton County. So across the board, a great opportunity for all of our programs this week. We're going to break down every single matchup on this week's show. And then obviously at the end of the show, our SCR Stars of the Week as well, as we've got a good group of players that we want to honor here from this past week's action, and plenty of stars to hand out. So we're going to jump in. We're going to talk about all of our games on this week's show. We're going to start right here with our game of the week at Shelby County High School. Well, the Shelby County Wildcats just continue to impress early in this season, now sitting at 4-0. Obviously, last week they get to 3-0 for the first time since 2008. They continue that same stretch since 2008, now 4-0 for the first time after they pick up a dominant 42-6 win over Jemison last week. And Andrew, defense continues to be consistent. Obviously, the offense got back to what we saw those first couple of weeks as well. So now you've got the offense playing well again. You've got the defense clicking on all cylinders. And this is your biggest matchup of the season, at least to this point, and it may ultimately end up being one of your biggest matchups. Obviously, Demopolis still left on the schedule as well. But this is a battle of two 4-0 teams with a chance to be sitting in first place in region play at the end of the week. So when you look at this matchup on paper, what we've seen from these two teams so far this season, what's the big breakdown as far as what's going to make the difference in this battle?
Yeah, and I think it's what you talked about with this defense. It just consistently brings incredible performances to the plate. It's something that we knew was going to be a strength going into the season, but I don't think that either of us would have expected just 9.3 points per game allowed on average through the first 4 weeks of the season. And another phenomenal performance by this unit last week, just getting up front, stifling Jemison. Just about every tackle was for loss up there early on, and really just set the tone for that so that the offense could have a lot of room to be able to run away and take advantage of that as well. So I expect the defense to continue to lead as well. And they've got a great opportunity to do that. They've got a Northside team that really likes to run the ball and is really good playmaking throughout the field. I got a chance to watch them against Montevallo a couple weeks ago, and I was blown away, frankly, by them, how they were able to just efficiently get down the field on offense against a defense that was one of the top ones in Shelby County last year in Montevallo, while also bringing a lot of pressure up front. I'll be interested to see how the run game stacks up against as well.
Yeah, I mean, Northside so far this season, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride. Even be sitting at 4-0, looked really good against Montevallo. They looked really good in a win over Cordova, but they struggle in a 2-point win against West Blockton and an overtime 6-point win last week against Selma. And that's a team in Selma that narrowly squeaked by Jemison that Shelby County just handled with ease. So it kind of depends on what team we get when you look at Northside this week. Are they going to be that team that showed some dominance in those two strong games against Cordova and Montevallo, or is it going to be a team that shows up and is in a tighter battle? And I think both of these teams, I think Shelby County and I think you look at Northside, both of them in that situation. I think that Shelby County a little bit of inconsistency offensively at times this year, but they've shown a lot of progress there. The defense has been consistent, though. And to me, that may be the difference in this game at the end of the day. But ultimately, also, you've got a Shelby County team that's not familiar with these situations as of late. So sitting at 4-0 with another 4-0 team, there's got to be some nerves there, some anxiety going into a big matchup like that. But, Andrew, what's the big difference in who walks away with the win in this battle?
I think just the way that Shelby County approaches the game and the consistency that they bring really has me reassured. Like you said, with Northside, a couple of up and down performances, but Shelby County, regardless of where the offense has been week after week, it's just been a consistent level of effort and excellence that has gotten them to this point. I got the unique opportunity to talk to Jemison coach Richard Davis when reporting for our sister paper down in Clanton, and he was pretty honest about it. He said, quote, Shelby County didn't do anything spectacular other than play hard-nosed football, and that wins games. On the surface, that sounds like a bit of a slight, but when you dig into it and you look at the rest of his comments, he's really paying them the ultimate compliment. That no matter if you come in expecting what they're going to do or not, they're still going to be able to stop you. And that's exactly what Shelby County has done to this point. They've had a strong run game. Anthony Palmieri had a great night once again last week. And it's just that defense continuing to bring the pressure, dictate the tempo, and just all around set the tone from the get-go that we are not going to let you beat us. I think that that's really going to make the difference here. And I like the Wildcats to come out early, establish that tone, and walk away with this win.
Yeah, I look back a couple weeks ago, a game in which Shelby County struggled in the first half offensively. They made adjustments at the halftime break, came out, played much better in the second half with, I believe, 21 unanswered in that game. So to me, it's those adjustments. Even in this game, you come in and you face a difficult team. At the half, they could be losing this football game, or it could be a really tight one-score game. I think they've got that team, that mentality this year that can go into the break and make the adjustments they need to, whether they're leading, whether they're trailing, and come out in the second half and put away a win. And I think that's the biggest difference in this year's team compared to previous teams over the last few years. But you just look at the consistency defensively, 10, 14, 7, and 6 points that they've given up to their opponents so far this season, averaging giving up 9.3 points per game. And on the offensive side, scoring 36.3 points per game. That's a pretty good recipe for success when you're outscoring your opponents 145-37 so far this season. So when I look at those numbers, I know Northside's been good. I know they're a talented football team and they're undefeated. But Shelby County on their home field, being able to make adjustments and having success defensively that they're having, and the drastic improvements they've had offensively this year, I think ultimately at the end of the day, the big deal, you look at what Anthony Palmieri's done the last couple of weeks offensively as well. He's clicking, but they've got playmakers across the board right now that can make some big-time plays, and I think that's a big key to it. I mean, they're as balanced as they've been in a long time. So big opportunity for the Wildcats to improve to 5-0 this Friday night, and obviously another key region win that would really put them in strong shape to finish in at least one of those top two spots, but puts them in a position where they're in first place really through the midway point of the 2024 high school football season. So great opportunity ahead for the Shelby County Wildcats this Friday night right here on their home field. The Thompson Warriors, maybe one of their best performances of the season a week ago, as they take down Oak Mountain 42-7 and pick up their third consecutive win. Now rolling along here at the perfect time of the season and going into a big matchup this week against Vestavia Hills in region play. Before we jump in and talk about this game, got to tell you about 3D Air Services. You've heard their name mentioned often throughout the football season so far on our show, and that's because they're great supporters of the Thompson Warriors and of Shelby County football in general. Since 2005, 3D Air Services LLC has proudly called Shelby County home. They're more than just your trusted HVAC company. They're your neighbors, friends, and supporters. Proud sponsors of the Thompson Warriors, believe in the power of teamwork, dedication, and community spirit, which are values they carry with them to every job that they do. 3D Air Services is your trusted neighbor, keeping Shelby County comfortable, one home and business at a time. Give them a call, 205-664-3501, 205-664-3501, 3dairservices.com. Jay Carr and his certified team going to take care of you throughout the high school football season for any of your heating or cooling needs when it comes to the HVAC. So give them a call there at 3D Air Services. But Andrew, this is a big game. Traditionally, really last year, this was a matchup, and I would say the last couple of years, it's been one of the more physical teams that Thompson has had to face in Vestavia. So you look at this year's Vestavia team, not quite the same overall coming into this season or into this matchup to where they've been the last couple of years, but still a team that's a dangerous threat. They're coming off their first win of the season, and they can still be physical when you look at what this team can bring to the table. So in looking at this matchup, what could give Thompson trouble if you look at that Vestavia Hills team, but also what's going to be the biggest benefit for Thompson and their chance to win?
I think it's honestly going to come down to some of the things that have hindered them in the past couple of weeks. Granted, the wins against Tuscaloosa County and Oak Mountain, very strong all across the board. However, there were a couple of things that Coach Freeman pointed out, and that I would certainly agree with him as well. It's just the defense opening that door just to let them into the game, and then just the penalties that need to be cleaned up with that as well. Eerily similar, both of the last couple of weeks. Up 14-0 early on, allow a score to let them get back in 14-7, and really make it a one-score game, make it a little bit uncomfortable for a little bit before eventually pulling away and getting that dominant win. But obviously, while you still like the dominance, you would have liked it to continue throughout the entire game. So I think bringing that consistency from the start to the end of the game is really going to be what helps here, especially against a Vestavia team that, while it's battle-tested this year, they've often struggled in those tests.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the Rebels recently, it's really the biggest concern on paper is they're just not scoring a ton of points. And you're going up against a really good defense in Thompson. Against the best defenses they face, they've scored 19, 17, and 14. You're going to have to be able to score points in a game like this. Going up against a Thompson defense is giving up just 12.5 points per game. So I think ultimately that's the big key. Thompson's defense is going to play well. Vestavia's defense the last 2 weeks has been drastically improved from what we saw early in the season, giving up 18 and 17 the last 2 weeks. So I do think their defense is going to come and play well, and Thompson's struggles this year have been on the offensive side of the football early in the season, but they seem to have righted the ship there. So when you look at that, ultimately looks like Thompson should be the favorite to win.
Absolutely. And watching them last Friday, they definitely had it going across a lot of different weapons, really able to dictate the tempo on the ground, as both RJ Evans and Mike Dujon each had a touchdown in that win. And then Price Lewis, obviously the top receiver for Thompson in that one. But Trent Seaborn spread the love out a little bit. We got some really good names out there for Thompson getting on the scoreboard for them in that one. And it's just really encouraging to see, after Seaborn had so many weapons last year that made him successful in different aspects of his game, to see him be able to spread the ball around, not only feel comfortable doing so, but have those playmakers on the other end of it who can make plays. I really do think that that's key. And as this offense continues to grow and evolve, I think it's going to take another step in this one, now facing a Vestavia team that's maybe a step up from Oak Mountain and Tuscaloosa County as they continue to build towards that gauntlet that's coming up of really good defenses.
So Thompson for you.
Yes.
Thompson for me. I mean, ultimately, I think that it's going to be the defense that gets the win here at the end of the day. But sneaky close. I think it's going to be a close game, at least for that first half, until Thompson can make those adjustments in the second half and come out and put together the right plan at the end of the night. But defensively playing too good right now. Vestavia not doing enough offensively for me to be able to do enough in that second half to pick up the win. So I think Thompson gets that fourth win in a row, third region win in a row, 3-0 in region play with some big games ahead the rest of the way. So great opportunity for both of these teams. Could be a chance for Vestavia to really make a statement. But at the end of the day, Thompson, the better football team, expect them to win that fourth game in a row. Before we talk about the Oak Mountain Eagles, got to tell you about 3D Air Services. right here in Shelby County. They've proudly called Shelby County home since 2005. They're proud sponsors of the Oak Mountain Eagles and continue to service your HVAC needs throughout the high school football season, whether it's air or heating services. They can take care of you. They're more than just your trusted HVAC company. They're your neighbors, friends, and supporters. 3D Air Services, your trusted neighbor, keeping Shelby County comfortable, one business and home at a time. Give our friend Jay Carr a call, his certified team. They're going to take care of you. 205-664-3501, 205-664-3501, 3dairservices.com. If you have an emergency with the HVAC system throughout the high school football season, make sure you call them at 3D Air Services. They'll be there as quickly as they can to take care of you and get everything fixed. Following their 2-0 start, the Oak Mountain Eagles have now dropped 2 in a row against some pretty good opponents early in the season to kick off region play. They fall to Thompson this past Friday night, 42-7, after losing to Prattville 35-28 in a tight one the week before. But this is still a team that's improved offensively. I know the 7 points last week don't show that, but they're going up against one of the best defensive fronts and secondaries in the state in the Thompson Warriors. This week they get a Tuscaloosa County team that's sitting at 0-4 now. So a get-right game for the Oak Mountain Eagles, a chance to get back above 500, 3-2 overall, but more importantly, notch that first region win of the season. And this is, I mean, just to put it simply, this is a Tuscaloosa County team that has struggled so far this season. So, Andrew, this is a great opportunity for Oak Mountain in this one.
Yeah, especially when you look at it on paper. Tuscaloosa County coming into this one 0-4 and directly off of a 30-0 loss to Prattville.
Yep.
Obviously, a team getting some top 10 buzz, but one that Oak Mountain only lost to 35-28, was in there for long stretches of that game. So you have to feel really good about this, even coming off of that loss, because watching that game live, it was just simply a better defense. You could definitely tell that they were trying to make plays, but unfortunately with Will Odell just one-dimensional, he wasn't really able to do that. I think he's going to get a much better opportunity against the Tuscaloosa County defense that's averaging 36 points per game on defense. Really be able to utilize both aspects of his game, get the ball out in space to some playmakers. We saw a great catch from Zach Fitzgerald and some other great plays from Oak Mountain as well on Friday night, despite the loss. And I really do think that if they're able to come out, set the tone on offense, I don't really trust this Tuscaloosa County offense to really make up that much in return. In their last 2 games combined, just scoring 7 points total on that. That doesn't really give me much reassurance that this week is going to be any different, especially with a homecoming crowd behind Oak Mountain. I really do think that Oak Mountain is going to be motivated to come out and get this win, get back right in region play.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Tuscaloosa County scoring just 10.5 points per game right now on the offensive side of the football. And I know Oak Mountain has struggled defensively. They're giving up 31.3, and they've consistently struggled on that side of the ball from a consistency standpoint. But this is a Tuscaloosa County team that's just not scoring a lot. They're giving up a lot of points. And at least if you're Oak Mountain, your offense has shown some promise so far this season. Tuscaloosa County is going to score some points in this game, but they're not going to score a ton. Oak Mountain's going to have one of their better defensive performances of the season, and you're going to see Will Odell and that offense get back to what we saw those first few weeks of the season. Even against Prattville in that loss, the offense looked good, especially in the second half, and almost came back to win that game. And Will Odell consistently has been over 200 yards every game this season, over 300 the first 3 weeks of the season. I expect us to see a game more like that this week. I think Oak Mountain going to come out, put together a big one offensively on the arm and legs of Odell with the weapons that he's got out there, and the defense also going to play one of its better games of the season. Expect the Eagles to notch that first region win of the season and get back above 500 at 3-2. It was a thrilling win for the Spain Park Jaguars this past Friday night. They hold on for a 28-26 win over county foe Helena, and now they get another great game this week at home on their home field against Benjamin Russell, a very good football team, sitting at 2-2 right now overall, but those losses to really good teams in Opelika by 14 points and Central Clay County by 7 points. This is a battle-tested team when you look at what Benjamin Russell's done so far. They've got a really good wideout at receiver who's one of the best in the state, and it's a team that's going to come in ready to win this game, knowing that there's a good chance that this game could ultimately be the deciding factor down the line in who wins the region title. Before I get your thoughts, Andrew, I want to tell you about Scooter's Coffee, who is supporting the Spain Park Jaguars throughout the season. Scooter's right there, conveniently located on Highway 280 in Inverness, as well as Chelsea. The fall menu is out right now. Get your pumpkin spice latte, your chai latte, whatever you need to get you through the changing season and into Halloween mode right there at Scooter's Coffee. They've also got the great food lineup, the cheesecake bites, the muffins that they've got there are incredible. So many other things that you can get at Scooter's throughout the fall season and throughout the year. So make sure you visit them right there on Highway 280 in Inverness and in Chelsea as well. And make sure to tell them the Shelby County Reporter sent you their way. But they're proud sponsors of the Spain Park Jaguars, too, and have done a lot of good things for the schools. And one of those is support the football program. And, Andrew, the football program's got a big one this week when you look at what Benjamin Russell is going to bring to town. This is a team that's playing some good football, especially the last couple of weeks. What's your expectation for this game?
Yeah, and another week, another classic for Spain Park. A phenomenal game where they had to show their true character against a tough Helena team who's going to be in the mix for the top of that region come the end of the season. I just continue to be impressed with what Coach Vakakis has instilled within this team to the point where they not only have the talent on offense and defense, but they have the will to win. And at the end of the day, that's really, truly what matters in games like this. And now you get a Benjamin Russell offense that's posted 38 a game. You come off of a couple of strong performances from the defense where they neutralized great offenses in Hoover and Helena, and you get a team that's coming off of back-to-back 55-point performances, granted against Calera and Chilton County, but it's going to be an interesting test for his defense to face. But I also think this is Benjamin Russell's biggest test yet. With respect to 7A Opelika and one of the best teams in 5A in Central Clay, this is a really strong Spain Park offense, and going up against the Benjamin Russell defense that's giving up 28 a game, I really do think that that's a vulnerability for them. There's a very big chance this could potentially get into a firefight later on if both these offenses are clicking. And in games like that, it really comes down to the defense, actually, who makes the stop at the end to make the win. And I trust Spain Park's defense more to do that. I really do think that they have the playmakers to get a few stops, get off the field, and turn the ball back over to the offense so that they can do what they do best.
Yeah, and this is a Ben Russell team that the last 2 weeks has looked like a team that wants to compete for a region championship. 55-28 over Chilton County, 55-21, or 55-21 over Chilton, 55-28 over Calera. So the offense is clicking. Defense has given up some points, though, like you were talking about a few minutes ago. Spain Park's defense looked good at times last week against Helena, and then struggled a little bit at times in that matchup. But what they did a pretty good job of was kind of limiting deep passes down the field, and that's what they're going to have to do in this one. This has been Benjamin Russell team that can beat you in many ways, but when you've got an athlete out there who can make plays in the passing game down the field, that's going to be what you're most nervous about. Keep things in front of you and keep those plays in front of you. You're going to have a chance to limit what Benjamin Russell is going to do on the offensive side of the football. Ultimately, though, I agree with you, Kat. I think this is going to be a back-and-forth game. I think Spain Park's got some very good experience with that right now. You look at what they did against Hoover, look at what they did against Helena last week, back-to-back games where it goes down to the final minute there, and they win a thrilling back-and-forth battle. So I think they're ready for a game like that. They're prepared for one like that mentally and physically for it to go down to those final couple of minutes of the fourth quarter and either make a big offensive play to win it or make a big defensive play to win it. And I think that's the biggest difference that you can find going into this matchup right now is that they've been in those situations at this point in the season, and they've won them. Benjamin Russell hasn't quite been in those situations, and they've lost. It just hasn't quite been there in those first couple of games of the season to be able to pull away against good teams in Central Clay and Opelika. But they lose those games and don't get that late opportunity. So I think with Spain Park's experience in those close games and pulling them out the last couple of weeks, I think that's the difference maker here in this one. I also think Spain Park walks away with the victory. All of a sudden, this Chelsea-Calera battle has turned into a very interesting region matchup. The Chelsea Hornets coming off a bye week, off their first 3-0 start in a long time, and you've got the Calera Eagles who are coming off a win for the first time in a long time. First time in 16 games that they pick up a win as they take down Pelham in a thrilling back-and-forth battle, 35-33 last week. Snaps that 16-game losing streak. The Chelsea Hornets, in the midst of their best start since 2016, now looking to go to 4-0 for the first time since the year before that, 2015. So both these teams in interesting situations right now. Calera playing some good offense throughout the season, struggled defensively. Chelsea playing some good defense throughout the season, struggled a little bit in that last outing against Pelham, but a physical football team on both sides of the ball, with Chase Strasner carrying the load on the offensive side of the football. So it's going to be interesting to watch, in my opinion, that Chelsea defense going up against this Calera offense and A.J. Johnson. Andrew, talk to me about those two things and ultimately what you think is going to be the deciding factor in this game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. These are going to be the two units that decide this game for these two teams, and it's really going to come down to who gives first. You look at Calera and another phenomenal performance by A.J. Johnson in the air last week. A big key part of the reason why they were able to secure that win, along with what they were able to do towards the end to see out that victory against Pelham. And then Chelsea, just a defense that not only has experience in getting those dominant defensive performances like we saw in the opener against Mobile Christian, but in being able to gut out a couple of victories like we saw against Pelham and like we saw against Wetumpka. So this is a team that's battle-tested, has some experience in the hard situations, and beyond any of that, can just bring pressure on all fronts. Really just be able to make life difficult for an opposing offense, even one as dynamic as Calera's. I really do think that it'll be a fascinating chess match between these two, and like I said earlier, it's going to be about who gives first. In my experience, I tend to think that the defense is going to end up getting the stops that it needs to, even if it's just a couple, to be able to get off the field and get the win. So I think that I lean towards Chelsea simply because I think the defense gets a couple of stops, and then I really don't see a reason why this offense can't run all over Calera on the defensive side.
Well, that's the big thing. I think you look at what this offense does well at Chelsea, and it's run the ball physically.
Right.
It's not just a dynamic run game. It's that Chase Strasner has worked all off season long in the weight room, and it's paid off. He is one of the strongest pound-for-pound backs in Shelby County, one of probably the strongest in the state. I mean, when you see him on the football field, his upper body is ready to run through people. And seeing him against Pelham, an undersized defense there, a young defense right now at Pelham, he was carrying 2 and 3 defenders with him on the ground before they finally got a pile on him to take him to the ground. And so I think that, to me, is the biggest difference going into this game, is the dynamic ability of him to be a powerful runner against that young and still growing in size Calera defense. So I think Chelsea with that has an advantage, but that's going to slow the pace of the game down at the same time, which is probably going to leave Calera in this game for a good while and give them opportunities with A.J. Johnson coming off a 400-plus yard game. Give this Calera offense chances to make plays to have an opportunity to win this football game. If they can capitalize on every time they touch the ball and at least put points on the board, then they're going to be right in it, even if you're limited to touching the ball 1 or 2 times a quarter throughout the entire night. So a great opportunity for them coming off that win against Pelham. They gained some confidence. They made big plays when they needed to. Now they've got a chance to do it again against a very physical Chelsea team, but that physicality is something that I think ultimately makes the difference. I expect Chelsea to get to 4-0 for the first time since 2015. Before we jump in and talk about this big Helena Moody matchup this week, I want to tell you about our friends at Consigned Design and what they're doing right there in Alabaster, 72 Fulton Springs Road, next to Walmart Market. This is a great consignment shop, great opportunity for you to go out and find what you're needing for the fall season, whether it's clothes, men, women, kids, whatever you need clothing-wise, jewelry, any of that kind of stuff, your game day needs. They're going to have everything that you need right there at Consigned Design. They can also get you started consigning as well if you've got anything that you're looking to get rid of and get taken there to Consigned Design. So make sure you give them a visit and give them a call. 205-664-7540, 205-664-7540. Consigned.design is their website. They've been voted Shelby Living's best consignment store 8 times now, and they're conveniently located right there at 72 Fulton Springs Road near Publix and the Walmart neighborhood market. So make sure to give them a visit or give them a call, 205-664-7540. It's going to be another fun week out at Helena High School as the Huskies welcome the Moody Blue Devils in a non-region battle this week. But fun storyline here is Jake Gaines, former Chelsea star, former Thompson assistant coach, bringing a team back into Shelby County to take on Richie Busby and the Helena Huskies. And Helena coming off a difficult loss to Spain Park, 28-26 now, 2-1 overall, 1-1 in region play. So they get a break from region play to kind of get right here ahead of the second leg of region action to finish off the season. And this should be a pretty good battle. Moody's got some athletes. Helena's got some athletes, a talented football team. Both of these teams looking to compete for one of those top two spots in their region this year. Moody possibly an outside chance competing for a 5A state championship as well. So when you look at this matchup, Andrew, you look at what Moody's done, 2-2 losses to Josh Niblett's Gainesville, Georgia team, 31-7. A tough game, lost 24-21 against Oxford. But they've been playing good defensively, giving up 13.8 points per game. And offense has been pretty consistent against a tough schedule, scoring 27.5 points per game, and now they've won 2 in a row. So Moody enters this game with a difficult schedule. They've got some confidence now, taking on a Helena team that's lost a game after falling to Spain Park last week in a tough game. So what's your expectation in this one that I think could be a really good contest?
I expect it to be a lot like the Oxford-Moody game. When you look at Oxford, one of the top 10 teams within Class 6A, that wound up being a pretty close battle between them and Moody. And I think Helena is about that level as well, even if that's not showing in the rankings quite yet. So really good. Props to both these teams for scheduling this incredible non-region test. But I think Helena definitely put together a really solid performance last week against Spain Park. Obviously not able to get it done, but you look at what they're able to do against a team that I think you and I both agree will at least be in the conversation for the Class 6A state championship. A huge deal for them to be able to go out and push them to the very limit. This is likely one of its most difficult tests to go. This Helena team will play Oxford next week, so that's going to be another difficult one, but this one is another big chance to establish yourself against a team that many people have seen is on the rise within the Birmingham area in Moody. And Moody coming in off a full head of steam, dominant shutout wins over Jacksonville and St. Clair County. Obviously, this is a huge step up for them, but when you're averaging 27.5 on offense and allowing just 13.8 on defense, it's going to be pretty strong. And then Helena, by contrast, a really strong offensive season for them, averaging 34.3 points per game. And that defense, which I think is really going to be key here, allowing 23 points per game. I think they're going to have to lead the way on defense. I think the offense will do enough against this Moody defense, strong as it is. I think they're going to find some ways based off of what you were able to see last week with those playmakers from the Huskies to the point where they really just have to get the stop they need to that will ultimately decide this game.
Yeah, so I look at this one, I think it could go either way.
Right.
At the end of the day, I really do think it could go either way. Ultimately, what Moody's been able to do defensively the last 2 weeks with shutouts, they've played 2 really good football teams that they lost to as well. I just think that defense right now is going to be the difference. Helena, though, offensively showed me a lot last week. Mm-hmm. Nate Ferguson's got an arm on him, and he can make some plays downfield. Torrey Ward had a couple of big catches. They can have one more guy step up on the other side of the field. That takes this offense to the next level, especially with what we saw from Jeremy Spratling and Dom Santiago. Both those guys are so good out of the backfield, and they just rotate back and forth, and it can take them all the way down the field. But if they have that one other receiver step up, that offense quickly goes to the next level. So I think I'm leaning Moody right now. You watch our live show on Friday night, I could quickly change back to Helena in this one as the week goes along. But right now, for some reason, I just lean toward Moody with Helena coming off that tough loss to Spain Park. And Moody winning 2 in a row with back-to-back shutouts. So that's kind of my lean right now. Where did you go?
I went with Helena for a lot of the same reasons as you do, but I do really think that in the end, this Helena team is going to find a way. I do think this team has some. Yeah, they have a good character with them. They've got the ability to grind you down and get to a point where you can get some openings. You mentioned that dual backfield. It's what Helena loves to do best. You look at back what A.J. Horsted and Jordan Washington were able to do a couple of years ago. That's not too dissimilar from what we're seeing right now with Santiago and with Jeremy Spratling. So I think this Helena team is really trending in the right direction despite that loss. So you're going to get 2 teams that are clashing at really close to the height of their powers. We're going to get a good one. I just think that Helena is going to have enough at home to be able to get it done.
Yeah, and that's what makes it tricky for me because I really don't I think Spain Park is a very good football team, and the way Helena went back and forth with them last week was impressive. Really a chance to win that game. They probably should have had they converted on a couple more opportunities there in the second half. Obviously not missed a PAT there late in the game as well, but that's what makes this a tough game. So I think Moody's a really good football team too. But that defense right now with back-to-back shutouts, the consistency we're seeing there is ultimately what's making me lean that direction at the moment. But Helena's offense, they play like they did last week and have a great chance to win this one. It's been a heartbreaking couple of weeks for the Pelham Panthers as they fall a couple of weeks ago to Chelsea in a 36-33 game in almost identical fashion, 35-33 this past week against the Calera Eagles, and now a road trip to take on Chilton County, looking to get into the win column both this season and in region play as well. So a great opportunity. We're going to talk a little bit about that here in just a second for Pelham to get that first win of the season. But I want to tell you about 3D Air Services, who is proudly sponsoring the Shelby County Football Show and Pelham Panthers throughout the season. Since 2005, 3D Air Services is proudly called Shelby County home. They're more than just your trusted HVAC company. They're your neighbors, friends, and supporters as well. They're proud sponsors of the Pelham Panthers who believe in the power of teamwork, dedication, and community spirit, which are values they carry with them to every job that they do. 3D Air Services, your trusted neighbor, keeping Shelby County comfortable one home and business at a time. If you've got any HVAC needs throughout the season, an emergency comes up, you just want to get your air conditioner heater tuned up going in to a new season, give them a call. Give Jay Carr and our friends a call, 205-664-3501, 3dairservices.com. Again, 205-664-3501. They're going to take care of you throughout the high school football season. But, Andrew, that brings us to this big matchup for the Pelham Panthers on the road at Chilton County. Pelham, this looks like their opportunity. It looks like a great chance for this for them to get that first win of the season as they hit the road to take on the Tigers. Two teams that have struggled so far this year, but Pelham looks, to me at least, like the better team going into the matchup.
Absolutely. I feel like this is a result that Pelham has been building towards. You get a couple of tough losses by almost identical score lines in that. But your offense is scoring back-to-back 33-point performances.
That's the tough thing, though. When you look at it, this is a team that could be sitting at 2-0 right now in region play with a chance to get to 3-0. And with their most difficult games ahead, that could have been such a big start for them. So now it's like that heartbreak. You got to get rid of it. But a chance this week really to do that against a team that you're better than.
Yeah, it's the fine margins in football. It's why we love this game so much. But if you're able to get a win like this going into your bye week, that's a huge amount of momentum for you the rest of the season. And like you said, great opportunity against Chilton County. Your only win was against Jemison by 1 point. And I think we both saw what Jemison was made of last week. Just a team that's not really able to stop playmakers. And if you get up on them, you can cruise pretty early. So I think that really leans towards Pelham's strengths, towards their athleticism and their talent at running back as well with Caleb Porter. I think this is the week where the offense comes even more together and is able to get more of that complete performance that they can then ride to a victory. Obviously, the defense hasn't exactly been able to hold up its end of the bargain, but you get an offense that's now scoring 20.8 points per game. I think that gives them a better opportunity to get a foothold within this, while Pelham looks to get that complete performance overall from both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I think it's Pelham. It's their opportunity. I think, like I said, I think they win this game. This is a Chilton County team that's 1-3 overall with that 1 point win over a struggling Jemison team this season. And it's their defense, Pelham's defense, is going to have to improve. That's going to be a key for them going into the second half of region play, their most difficult region games ahead. Going to have to improve on that side of the football, but the offense has been there this year. They've shown some drastic improvements offensively this season with back-to-back 33-point games. I've been impressed there, and I think this week they're going to have a big game. The defense could allow Chilton County to hang around for a little while, but I don't think they've got enough on that side of the ball to be able to keep up with what Pelham's shown me offensively so far this season. So I expect the Panthers come out, put together one of their best performances offensively of the year, and ultimately I think the defense also going to do the same thing at the end of the night and walk away with a pretty comfortable win here against Chilton County. It's been a tough start for the Briarwood Lions to this 2024 high school football season. Another loss this past Friday night, and they're now 0-4 on the season, heading into a home matchup against Wenonah this week, and it's pretty simple. The offense is going to have to find ways to improve to be able to have a chance to pick up this win. Before we jump in and talk about this game, got to tell you again about our friends at 3D Air Services, who are proud supporters of the Briarwood Lions throughout the 2024 high school football season. Since 2005, as you've heard, they've called Shelby County home, and they're more than just your trusted HVAC company. Neighbors, friends, and supporters. They're supporting the Briarwood Lions. They're proud sponsors of us and the Lions, and they believe in the power of teamwork and dedication, as well as community spirit. They carry that with them to every single job that they're a part of. 3D Air Services is your trusted neighbor, keeping Shelby County comfortable, one home and business at a time. Any of your HVAC needs, heating or air condition, as we change seasons here. If you need a tune-up, if you have an emergency, write down the phone number, 205-664-3501, 205-664-3501, 3dairservices.com. Jay Carr and his certified team going to take good care of you there. And the Briarwood Lions need somebody to step up and take good care of this offense moving forward, because this is an offense that scored 7, 14, and 7 the last 3 weeks, averaging 14 points per game, and going into a matchup with Wenonah that they desperately need to win.
Yeah, this has suddenly transformed into a must-win game for the Lions. You look at now in where the region standings are. Corner's gotten a good start to the season. Ramsey's still looking pretty solid, even with that loss to Corner now. So you look at it now, it's probably likely a fight between Briarwood, John Carroll, and Wenonah for that final spot if Carver stays the course and is in that Final Four as well. So you need to have a sense of urgency coming into this game if you're the Lions. Really approach this and see it as what it is, which is a good opportunity to get that first win. Obviously, the run game last week, strong. Over 200 yards on the ground. You get a good night from Eli Thompson, and you get Luke Reynolds back. But it's the pass game that really struggled here. Just 15 yards through the air for the Lions. And this isn't a running game like some of these other teams we're talking about in Shelby County and Chelsea, where you can rely on them and they can carry pretty much your entire offense. It feels like this team is going to need to have a diversified attack if they want to be able to come out and capitalize on what defense has been doing, which is give them some open windows early where they can capitalize. You see a very low-scoring first half yet again on the road against Carver, before ultimately it was the deep passes that doomed them. A 43-yard touchdown pass and a 75-yard touchdown pass make up 2 of those 3 scores in that loss to the Rams. So you're going to have to do a lot better at defending the air as well. But you look at this Wenonah team, start out the season with a tight win over JO, a team that has historically not had a ton of success. Really your only good performance of the season was against Midfield in a shutout win. But that 1-point loss to Corner is looking really solid, especially now coming off of your bye week. So this is going to be a team that feels like it's going to have something to prove to the rest of the region, knows that they just went toe-to-toe with one of the top teams in the region in Corner, and is fresh off of its bye week. So you need to attack this like it's a threat, and like this game is not a given. I think at the end of the day, this offense at its peak should beat Wenonah, but they need to have a complete performance to get this one. I lean towards the Lions in a close one here.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite. On this one. I think that it all boils down to the offense. Have to show me something. When you look at this Wenonah defense, the schedule's been, okay so far this season. So take that with a grain of salt, but it's a defense giving up 11.7 points per game, going up against a Briarwood offense that's only scoring 14 a game and has scored 14 or less the last 3 in a row. So when I look at that on paper, it makes me think they got to step up and prove it offensively if they want to walk away with the win in this matchup. And traditionally, this was always a good region battle the first few years I had started at the Reporter. And so I do expect this to be a physical game right there on their home field, a chance to get that first region win, get some momentum. And I think their defense keeps them in it for a long, long time, just like we saw last week. But at the end of the day, in the second half, the offense is going to have to make the plays and prove they can do so to be able to walk away with the win. Right now, I have to see them prove that to me. So I'm gonna go with Wenonah in this game. I think that they're going to step up and pick up the win. But another good opportunity. It's a game that the Lions should be in at the end of the day, so we'll see if they can get that first win of the season. The strong start continued for the Vincent Yellow Jackets. Off a bye week, they put together arguably their best performance of the season, 37-0 shutout of Lamar County. Defense, Andrew, consistent. Offense, improved. This is a team right now that's playing such good football, 3-0. They've given up 6, 18, and 0 in their last 3 games, or in their 3-0 start. Now get a 2-2 Sulligent team that, on paper, it looks like Vincent's the better team in this. It was a good Sulligent team, but Vincent looks to be the better team. Are they ultimately the better team, and do they walk away with a 4-0 start at the end of the night?
I think they are, and it really is a testament to where Vincent is in playing good football at this point in the season. Obviously, last week, their most convincing performance and dominant performance of the season. It's exactly what you want in your region opener going into a top 10 matchup. And now you enter this game averaging just 8 points on defense, and that's been the storyline so far for this Vincent team, is being able to get it done on defense, and that's really been enough. Regardless of whether the offense has had a bad day or a good day, which they're having more good days than bad days at this point in the season. It's really starting to come together for this team. Sulligent, they're likely still a top 10 team, like I said, but they're coming off of a loss where they only scored 6 points against Lamar County, the same team that Vincent just went out and completely dominated on their home turf for homecoming. So it's a team that we think should be a pretty good dog within this matchup. But at the same time, I do like Vincent within this one. I think if you enter this one, bring that level of consistency over from last week and just set the tone on defense and give the offense just room to continue to make the same plays that they've been doing, I really do think that sets up to be a win, even if we don't see it as high flying as it was last week.
Yeah, I mean, Vincent right now, their defense has just been unbelievable. And that's the big thing to me. Sulligent scoring 20 points per game right now. So they just hadn't shown a ton offensively so far this season. I think Vincent, the better team, the better defense, and I think they shut down Sulligent from an offensive standpoint. The offense, though, going to have to continue to show that progression that we saw last week, and that's what makes them dangerous to me. The defense plays well. That gives your offense more and more time to build confidence and get better and better and better. And I think this week you're going to see that again. I think you're going to see the defense give that offense time throughout the game to make the plays that they need to and ultimately be able to create a little bit of separation as they improve to 4-0 on the season. Big opportunity for head coach Lucas Weatherford and the Vincent Yellow Jackets to really kind of start to set the tone for what's a challenging region this year and make themselves a legit contender for a region championship. That takes us to our AISA and ACSC roundup as we've got all three teams once again in action this week. Cornerstone Chargers going to be at home against Southern Prep, now sitting at 4-0, so a great start to the season for them. The offense continues to play well this past week in a dominant win. Coosa Valley on the road at Springwood, coming off their second loss of the season, now 1-2. And Evangel back at home, rivalry battle against Ezekiel. Evangel coming off their best offensive performance to me of the year, 52-42 and a win over Freedom. Now they get the rivalry battle with Ezekiel. So, Andrew, quick walkthrough of each of these three games and what you think the outcome is going to be at the end of the night.
Yeah, and big props to Evangel in that game against Freedom. They got in their first shootout of the season and survived. Yep. They won that one 52-42 in a game that was tighter than what we've expected in recent years from this matchup.
When two teams that were playing so well defensively early in the season, both of them playing so good defensively, and then you come into that matchup and they erupt for basically 100 total points.
Yeah, it was unreal. It was incredible to see. But I think that one showed a lot about where this team is going heading into ACSC play. East Central and Southern Christian definitely looking like two of the top teams along with them in this one. Ezekiel, not quite at that level. They lost week 2 to Freedom 48-20. 2 wins over Evangel Montgomery and Lighthouse. But I think this is where the defense gets a bounce back performance. Yeah. They're gonna want to prove something after giving up a lot of points to Freedom last week, and this is a team that's too good on that front to not have a big performance coming off of that one. So I do like the Lightning to get that big rivalry win to start out ACSC play. Moving over to Cornerstone, massive win over Springwood. I think that sets the stage for them for the rest of region play. You take out arguably one of the 2 top teams within that region, along with Macon East, should be really good going into this, and you control large stretches of that game, just like the state championship game. We talked about this last week, how is this going to be more like the state championship game, or is it going to be like that overtime thriller we saw in the regular season? It was a resounding answer for the former. This team came out and dominated, had playmakers step up all over the field. Noah Schober, Hampton Etheridge, and Malachi Adams made plays all across the field on both ends of the field, as well as Zeke Adams, who we've come to expect from this team. You flip that over to a 1-3 Southern Prep team with its only win over Coosa Valley. I do think that this is setting the stage for another dominant showing. I like the Chargers big. And then you look over at Springwood's next game, which is at home against Coosa Valley, a team that took a step back in a 50-0 loss to a very good East Central team, and combined that with a Springwood team still looking for a bounce back game. I think it could be a little bit closer, just considering what some of these two teams have put up against some common opponents. But Springwood to this point has given a lot more consistency on the offensive front, versus Coosa Valley, which had two low-scoring performances sandwiched in between a school record in points. So I think that makes me lean towards Springwood in this one.
Yeah, I look at these three matchups. Evangel, it's a rivalry game. I've seen weird things happen in this specific rivalry, but I expect Evangel to walk away with the win. Defense should get back to where they have been. Offense, I think, is going to continue to showcase what we saw a week ago and continue to improve as well. For Coosa Valley, this is a game where both of these teams have seen struggles. Both have seen some success, but Springwood a little bit more consistent overall this season. They've been about the same every week. Obviously, last week was a tough one, but I think you're going to see Springwood with their consistency come back with a team that's a little bit closer in talent level, and that's going to be a good game. But I expect Springwood to walk away with the win. Cornerstone and Southern Prep. I mean, Cornerstone 4-0. They're scoring 60 points per game, giving up 8.5 points per game. That's a recipe for success if I've ever heard of one. So I would say that you're going to see Cornerstone walk away with another win. The offense, they've scored 60 or more in 3 of 4, 48 or more in all of them, giving up 14 or less in all 4 games. It's just unbelievable what they're doing right now. Expect that to continue and roll on. I expect the Chargers to win big yet again in that home matchup against Southern Prep. That brings us to our SCR Stars of the Week segment. And before we jump in and talk about the 6 players that we've got down for this week's Stars, we got to tell you about another star in Shelby County, and that's Bertoloni's right there in Calera. Proud sponsors of the SCR Stars of the Week segment, and they're a 5-star restaurant. They get 5 stars every week. If you visit them, you're going to see why. So make sure to go visit them right there off of I-65 in Calera. Try any of their authentic Italian cuisine. They've got obviously spaghetti, chicken parmesan, all the other great things that you consistently want. Lasagna's top notch as well. They've got other things on their menu that are incredible. You look at their pizzas and some of the other stuff. My personal favorite, the buffalo chicken, the Nashville hot chicken pizza. They've got a full bar with craft cocktails, great wine selection, and then obviously what they're known for, the cakes. That strawberry cake is divine. It's to die for. You can get it whole or by the slice. They've also got seasonal favorites and other unique flavors that you just have to try to believe, and it's incredible right there at Bertoloni. So make sure you visit them throughout the football season. As the weather gets a little bit cooler, there's nothing you want more than a good hearty Italian meal, and they're going to take care of you right there at Bertoloni's in Calera. 205-664-8780 to place your to-go order, or call for more information, 205-664-8780. They've got a brand new website as well with online ordering, Bertolonis.com. So make sure to visit them at Bertolonis.com and see why Sonia Bertoloni and her incredible staff are going to take care of you there at Bertoloni's in Calera. But Andrew, that brings us to our SCR Stars of the Week. And we had some guys that really, really stood out this past Friday night. Another big week of region play. So walk us through your 3 stars, then we'll jump over to mine.
Yeah, first I'm going to start out with somebody who I got to see in person this week. An SCR Stars regular, and that's Trent Seaborn. Had an incredibly efficient night with 11 for 16 passing and was really on it with the deep passes. Went for 204 yards and 4 touchdowns. Just looked in control during that time that he was in the game. Still important to note, he came out early in that second half, so it could have been a lot more numbers for him had he played the entire game. And just the way that he was able to spread the ball with his receivers and just get that connection with Price Lewis especially going to make those big explosive plays that really made it so Oak Mountain couldn't get a footing within the game. He was what impressed me the most from that win. So big shout out to Trent for that. And then you flip it over to Shelby County, an incredible offensive performance. Defense obviously performed well as well, keeping them in it to get some room to make these big plays, but Anthony Palmieri was the one who made the dynamic plays throughout the entire game, taking 8 carries for 141 yards, just completely dominated every single time he touched the ball. A big factor for that is the Shelby County offensive line, which was a focus going into this offseason, has been a big sign of growth for this team, and as they've gone, so the running backs have gone. Anthony Palmieri doing a great job of taking advantage of that blocking. Can't wait to see them all out here on Friday night at Papa McComb Stadium. So big shout out to Anthony Palmieri. And then you look over at Vincent. Their defense was incredible last week, and one of the big reasons for that was Grayson Gold getting about 20 tackles within that big Vincent win against Lamar County, just consistently bringing that pressure and neutralizing anything that Lamar County really had to do. It was a completely dominant performance where they had zero opportunity to get into the game, did Lamar County, and it's just a testament to what this Vincent team brings week in and week out. Was already a top 3 defense in Shelby County coming into this season, and they've just got improved and lived up to that label to start out the year. So props to them. All my SCR Stars. Curious to hear yours.
Yeah, you look at Calera. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about a couple of guys from that game picking up their first win to snap a 16-game losing streak, their first win since 2022. And it starts with quarterback A.J. Johnson, 26 of 35, 408 yards, 61 rushing yards. Just an outstanding performance from him in a back-and-forth wild game against Pelham that they're able to squeak out 35-33, and they wouldn't have been able to do that without his efforts in that one. Just unbelievable what he's done, and we've seen it consistently throughout the year. Turnovers and special teams mistakes, defensive mistakes. There's been some things that have been costly for them this year, but they've consistently put up yards, and they're starting to consistently put up points as well. So this is a Calera team that's going to continue to showcase those kind of numbers throughout the way. And Elijah Bates, another big part of that. 9 receptions, 123 yards, a key target, and part of a balanced offensive attack, really, for this Calera offense. But Bates, a big-time performer there at the receiver position. Over at Spain Park, a game that I got to see, C.J. Calley at Spain Park, 96 rushing yards, 59 receiving yards, a touchdown in that one. Just an outstanding dynamic back there. And what he's able to do out of the backfield catching the ball is almost just as impressive as what he's able to do running the football. But his speed to the edge and then to be able to make guys miss is unreal. So C.J. Calley at Spain Park, another star of the week for me. So that gives them to you. That's our 6 stars of the week right here from the 4th week of the high school football season. So still plenty of time ahead. We're about to that midway point of the year and still plenty of time to make your name known and make a statement with some big-time games ahead. We'll continue to do it each week. Can't wait to see who we name on next week's SCR Stars of the Week segment. That brings us to the end of this week's show, but as we've done really every week so far this season, Andrew, I'm going to ask you for your bold prediction. What you think is going to be the big thing we're talking about at the end of Friday night going into next week's show?
Our teams will be winless no more at the end of this week. I think that Pelham will get its first win of the season in a really good matchup for them against Chilton County, and I think that Briarwood will find a way to get it done against Wenonah as well. I was going to go into this one last week and say that Pelham will be the Panthers to get the first win of the season over my Carolina Panthers. I still really do think that's going to happen, and I still think that Briarwood is eventually trending towards a victory. I think that both of these two teams are better than what their records show, but they've got to put together those complete performances, and that's got to happen on Friday night.
Yeah, I think I look at all of our games. I'm going to stick in the AHSA for this prediction, and it's going to negate some of the predictions I made throughout the show. But I think every AHSA team that we've got wins their game if they're not playing another county team. Okay. So I think we win every game this week, aside from that Chelsea-Calera game, which obviously somebody has to lose. So only one loss for us among all of our AHSA games this week. Negates a couple of my predictions throughout the show. Helena and Briarwood, the first that come to mind there, but would be pretty neat to see all of our teams win aside from that one county battle. So we'll see if that's something that comes to fruition at the end of Friday night, but it's going to be a big one. I think this is one of our best weeks overall of the season. Everybody's got a great game that is happening this Friday, so make sure you get out and support your team and take advantage of this. The weather's right in that good zone right now before it gets too cold. It's not quite too hot right now, so it should be a beautiful night for high school football, including right here in Columbia. In our game of the week as the Shelby County Wildcats host Northside in a huge battle of 4-0 teams. So we'll see you on Friday night. We'll have the Facebook Live pregame show on location. One of us right here, Andrew, at the Shelby County game, and then myself at another game as well. So we'll see you then. Until then, it's been fun. Alongside Andrew Simonson, I am Alec Etheridge, and we'll see you on Friday night.